happens after you submit your photos to my color analysis service. In this video, I'm going to walk through what happens behind the scenes as you submit your submissions. Many of you go, oh my goodness, 30 business days. Why does it take so long? And I hope this helps explain what goes on behind the scenes with your lovely picture submissions. Once you submit your pictures, there's somebody who manages the mailbox who does an initial quality assurance review to make sure we have everything from you and that it generally meets the guidelines that are posted on my site. Following that, what happens is the current picture of your face is put on all the color analysis backgrounds that I use virtually to assess somebody's coloring. It's not just one picture though that is focused on, and I'm going to explain why you submit this whole portfolio of information. When the file gets handed to me, I call that sort of a day one review. And the day one review usually happens in the afternoon. And my morning reviews are when my eyes are really, really fresh. And those are people in the final stages of review. And so I reserve those for like my morning eyes for people who results are ready to send out, and that's my final check. So my first review for everybody happens usually in an afternoon. And what I grab is I first look at your historical picture submissions. I'm just using the template on my site that features myself to illustrate this. So I take in what your skin and natural hair color and features were over time. This is me in my 20s with my son. I see summer over time. Like, this isn't deep and icy hair color, which would be winter. I don't see extremely bright and translucent skin. I see muted skin here. And here's me in my 30s, I believe. This is my natural hair color, and I see muted complexion here. I see a lot of summer. And I take in what your eye might be showing, but this really is sort of like a hypothesis. I don't really put a lot of weight on what an eye says or not, because the most important aspects of color analysis are actually what your skin qualities are over time and how those react to the color comparisons. And then here is the supporting picture that I asked for. I'm not looking at your veins in this picture. I'm just seeing sort of what's happening here, a range on your arm. Sometimes I like to see that. So I see taupe brown freckling, which could happen in summers. There's the current picture of my face, very summer-like. Like, I don't look at me over time and go, oh, she's a winter. I don't see autumn at all, like extreme earthy qualities to skin and deeper hair color over time. I had a very smoky look to me. So I look at the historical pictures to sort of gauge what palettes can easily be ruled in or out, perhaps, because they have to tell me the same story as the color comparisons. And so as a second step, after I go through all the portfolio of pictures submitted, I then look at the color backgrounds that were pre-prepared, and I go through each step of color analysis. So step one, cool versus warm. Step two, to determine home season. Does somebody lean winter, summer, spring, or autumn? And step three is I decide what sort of home season they are. So each home season would have 4 categories potentially of assignments, and those might be further refined based on what I see in the color comparisons. Hence why we can get up to 23 seasonal result possibilities that I may give out. Now, when I look at each of the color comparisons, there are 7 and sometimes 8 checks that I do, the 8th one being if somebody has their natural hair color. I focus individually on each check. I don't just look at this picture and go, oh, she's a summer. Definitely. I actually look one by one at each of the checks. So like lift to jawline, is it happening here or over here? Is the skin appearing smooth and even over here or here? Like, I look at each one individually. I've covered what the 7 checks are in my other videos. You can go back to those. The hair color check would be, is vibrancy added to the natural hair color? And sometimes I do that with eyebrows as well, if the eyebrows color is natural. I would never look at this photo though and go, yes, she's definitely 100% a true summer, because I actually can't rule out spring easily here. But what does help rule out spring is just the other supporting pictures and also the color comparisons when I focus one by one on the checks. And I see people online looking at pictures like this and go, she's definitely this. I actually don't understand where that's coming from, because it's actually an extreme detailed process that a color analysis professional would do who follows an accredited system. An accredited system usually has objective checks that are being looked at. That's the day one review. I'll come up with something in the afternoon on a day and plug it into the system and go, day one review, I saw this. And then on a second day, in the morning, when my eyes are fresher, I will look at that client file again and do the exact same steps and make sure I'm seeing the same thing on a different day, because I find eyes just, for some reason, see things clearer at various points in time and on different days. And I want to make sure I'm seeing the same thing on at least 2 separate occasions. So a full review is done on a second day. If on the second day I see something different than day one, then on another morning, a day 3, that person's file would be picked up again and re-looked at, the whole process redone to make sure I'm seeing the same result as what I saw on day 2. And so that's what happens in the 30 business days. And then ultimately, the report information is packaged up and emailed to the client. I realized I forgot to say, on day 1 or day 2, if I'm feeling like something's not clicking with someone's analysis, like for instance, their natural hair color isn't clear over time, perhaps, or perhaps just something's missing, that's when I go back to the client for additional clarification, which also factors into the timeline as well. Trust me, you don't want me turning these around in a rushed fashion. I like to take things slow with color analysis and think about it and ponder it. And sometimes somebody will sit in a holding status for a week or 2 in that 30 business days, just because I want to make sure I'm completely focused when I'm working on clients, and so that is a priority to me, is accuracy, and I don't like to rush that. In Toronto, Canada, Elise runs a service where she does the in-person service, and we have a package there where I pre-validate virtually color analysis results for those people who want consensus from both of us. As part of that service, we've never had an in-person result differ from a virtual result, and I'm really proud of that. And it's very, very important to me to have some space to think about things. And I'm honored for everybody who puts up with the 30 business day wait, but it truly is a timeline put together thoughtfully. That's what I like with virtual. It gives you some time to sit back and think, where in person, sometimes waving around fabrics and there's a lot of pressure sometimes. I actually really like virtual. And that's why I like to, even if when I'm doing in person, to do a virtual as well, so that I'm seeing the same thing, both virtually and in person. Yay!